This conference will now be recorded.
Hi friends, good morning. So in this Azure Database Master Program, in today's session, we are going to talk about reading and writing Parquet files. Okay, how you can read and write the Parquet files. We are going to discuss in today's session. So in today's session, we will talk about what is Parquet file. Okay, what is meant by columnar storage. Parquet file is a columnar storage. What is exactly the meaning of columnar storage? We will discuss. Then we will talk about advantages of Apache Parquet file format, because this is a frequently used file format in Spark. Okay, so what is the advantage of Apache Parquet file format? Then we will talk about difference between CSV and Parquet file. What is the difference between CSV and Parquet file? We will discuss. Then I will just talk about read Parquet file into data frame. If you have a Parquet file, how you can read this Parquet file into the data frame. Then how you can write data frame as a Parquet file. Okay, these are the things we'll discuss. And in next session, we will talk about how you can create the partitions, how to read the partition files. All those things we'll discuss. But today, I just we will discuss only these 6 points. Okay, fine. Let me just start with what is Apache Parquet. But before I go and explain, anybody know what is Apache Parquet file format? Anybody is having any idea, friends? Okay, so that's fine if you don't have any idea. See, Apache Parquet is a columnar file format that provides optimization to speed up queries. Okay, so how it can able to speed up your queries? Example, so you will get more clarity in you once I go to the next slide, because I have explained there the columnar file format. What is meant by columnar? So what happens in backend when it is storing the data? If you are using a Apache Parquet file format, it will store data in a columnar storage. Columnar means, let's say you have customer ID, customer name, and customer location. Basically, if you use CSV and some other file formats, those are a row based, right? Row means one, David is from US, two, Michael, UK. So likewise, row by row, it will store the data. But Apache Parquet will store data in a columnar, meaning it will store customer ID 1, 2, 3, customer names, David, Michael, and something. Okay, location, and it will store US, UK, India, something like that. It will store in a columnar format. Now, when you are reading this particular data, it will be very easy. Example, it's a customer IDs I don't want. I want only customer name. I want only customer name and a customer location. So if you want only customer name and customer location, you can directly find where your customer names are available, where your customer locations are available. Once you find those details, all the customer names will have a next to next. You no need to search entire disk to identify where is your data, right? So you have all your data next to next, because already you stored in a columnar format. Okay, that's why it will be easy for you to search for the customer name and customer location. If you go with the row based, we have a customer ID, customer name, and customer location. Next again, next customer ID, next customer name, next customer location. Likewise, when you have, if you want to get the customer names, so it's not a continuous, isn't it? It's not a continuous customer names. First customer name somewhere, second customer name somewhere. You need to search it. It will take more time, right? So that's why Apache Parquet is a columnar file format. It will store data in a columnar file format, and that provides optimization to speed up your queries, so you can able to read data quickly, and is a far more efficient file format than CSV or JSON. Why it is more efficient file? The reason is, if you just consider a CSV file with 100 GB, that same CSV file, if you can convert into Parquet, so the file size is going to be just 35 GB. Okay, if you have a 100 GB CSV file, if you convert into Parquet, it will be some 35 GB. How much reduction in terms of file size? Huge size reduction, right? So when you have less file, it will be much more easy for you to transfer over the network. Let's say you are sharing some image or some video or some audio in WhatsApp. So if the file size is more, it will take more time for you to transfer it, right? But if it is a small file, then you can able to quickly transfer that particular file, isn't it? So likewise, if it is a CSV file, that there is no compression technique. There is no compression technique. But Parquet is a snappy compression technique. There are other compression techniques we have. So by default, Parquet will use a snappy compression technique to like compress the data size. Okay, to compress the data size, it will just use the snappy compression technique to reduce the file size. So when the file size is reduced, it will be easy for us to transfer the file from one location to another location, or from source to destination, or whatever it is. Okay, yeah, so Pawan told it will take less size for larger data. Yes, you are right. Okay, next.
Malaya, do you have any sample file which you can show as a columnar file or any diagram
I
that you
will
can
show
show?
you. Just wait. Okay, let me just discuss these slides. I will show you.
Yeah, sure.
First, once I give complete idea, then I will show you. Okay, right.
No
It's
problem. Yes.
supported by many data processing systems. So Parquet you can use in a many processing systems. Like Spark is the mainly, like the Spark is, whoever is using Spark, they mostly use the Parquet file format. Okay, next. It is compatible with most of the data processing frameworks in the Hadoop ecosystem. So let's say if you want to use in MapReduce also, I think you can able to read in like in Hive, you can able to read, because Hive, what happens, underlying data, you can have a path and you can able to read the data. So in Hadoop ecosystem also, many processing frameworks will support this particular Parquet file format. Next, it provides efficient data compression techniques. It reduces data storage by 75% on average, meaning previously I just considered 65%, but as per this particular point, you can understand, if you have a CSV file with 100 GB, Parquet will come just 25 GB. Okay, but in some other documents, what I read it is it's a 33%. Uh, if you have 100% CSV file and 100 GB CSV file, if you convert that CSV into Parquet, it will be some 33 GB file will come. So something like that. Approximately 35 GB you will get max to max. Okay, meaning 65% minimum reduction you can able to see. Okay, on an average, this point says on an average 75% of the data storage you can able to reduce it. When you have compressed the data size will reduce. Once data size is reduced, there are multiple advantages, right? One is maintaining and storage cost, transferring the data. So many things you can able to do quickly, isn't it? So if the data size is less, so for storing also you can save the cost, isn't it? Next. Spark SQL provides support for both reading and writing Parquet files that automatically captures the schema of the original data. So can anybody understood this point? Anybody understood this point? See, reading and writing Parquet files is supported in Spark SQL, meaning in data frames. Okay, in data frames and normal SQL tables, you can able to read these Parquet files. Now, when you are reading these Parquet files, that automatically capture the schema of the original data, that automatically capture the schema of the original data. In CSV, what we were doing, we are using something called info schema equal to true, or we are using something called info schema equal to true, we are using. Next, what else we are using? User defined schema we are providing, user defined schema we are providing, or info schema equal to true we are using. But if you look at this, it is saying automatically capture the schema of the original data, meaning you no need to worry, data types, everything it will capture automatically. Okay, automatically it can able to fetch those schema. You no need to use info schema equal to true, header equal to true, all those things. Automatically it can detect the headers and it can detect the schema of that particular file. Okay, next. Okay, any questions in this particular slide?
So Malaya, so when we say it is compressing and storing, if we are compressing, I mean size wise it is less, but when we want to read the data, it should uncompress and then read the data, right?
Yes, you are right. But it's a columnar.
But
It can compress and it can read quickly. You can able to read quickly.
Okay.
So let me explain you what is columnar. Now you can. Okay, fine. Now you see what is meant by columnar storage. Let's take an example of CAD, customer ID, customer name, or let's say course ID, course name, and a course start date. Okay, these are a course ID, course name, and a course start date. Fine. Now, if it is a row-oriented storage, data will store something like that. 1 Azure 2021, 2 Databricks 2021, 0102, 3 ADF. So how it is storing? Row by row. First row, next row, next row. Now, if I want to get only course names in Cloud Pandit, what are the courses available? I just wanted to understand. So then, when you just query it for the course names, one course is here, another course is somewhere here, another course somewhere here. So it needs to search entire this to identify where these course names are available. Okay, so in backend, so there is no continuity, right? So everywhere you need to search. But let's say columnar storage. What happened here? You see, course IDs are 1, 2, 3. Course names are Azure Databricks ADF. Course start dates are this. Now, when you want only course name and course start date, so course name starting from here, so everything it will give you. Azure Databricks ADF. Course start date, it will give you this thing. So you no need to search for anything. So these course details are next to next. Okay. These course details are next to next. So you can able to read the data quickly in Parquet. You can able to read the data quickly in Parquet. Clear what is the difference between row oriented storage and columnar storage?
So Malaya, usually in the row oriented storage, it will be row by row, right? Why everything will store in a single row? I mean, based on the key, primary key, it will store in a single row, right?
See, that's what my meanings here. I'm just showing it's not a single row. I'm just showing here how the data is. So instead of giving multiple rows, I'm just mentioning it is storing in a row by row. Don't consider this as entire row. You have a big row there. It depends,
Got
right? Disk. Here, my intention is just to show you this is storing in a row by row. Here,
Okay.
it's a column. It's another column. It's another column.
Yeah, but everything will be in a, so basically, so if I want to search with a course, you are saying all the courses will be at the same place, so the data will be retrieval fast. That's what you are trying to say.
Yes, in columnar storage.
But if I say, okay, let's give the data based on the ID seed column as well as the course, then in that case, the complexity will increase, right? The data will be not in the same place, right?
Can you tell me once again what you want?
So if I want to query based on the course name, this is pretty straightforward because all the courses are at the same place, so it will retrieve data fastly. If I want to retrieve based on the CID and the course name, then we are adding so it needs to go into two places to get the data, right?
Yes, but here how many places it should go?
It will go only one place, right? In a row by row, if I go to seed, right? If I come with a primary key, it will be a single row, right? Once I go to the seed, I can retrieve the data whatever I want, right? But here we need to go and search in the seed as well as the courses, right?
No. See, here you have a row by row, right? So suppose if you want course ID and course name, okay, you want course ID and course name. So maybe okay, so you are thinking maybe I am storing in a single row, right? So in the disk, so how many rows it can store is we did not know exactly. Okay, so now how the data ultimately, so it will store in this particular order. First one Azure and this particular data, two Databricks in this. Now if you want to get your course ID and course name, so you need to search where and all your course ID is available, where and all your course names are available. You need to search here. But here you have continuity. Once you identify where your course is starting, You can just bring all those things next to next. You no need to wait for, like, you need to search for multiple things. Even let's say you are thinking one Azure 2021 will be one row, next row will be two Databricks 2021-01-02, next row is three ADF 2021-01-03. So 3 different places we need to go and fetch these particular details. But here you just have to go to only 2 places to get the data. In this case, you need to go to the 3 places. In this, you just go to only 2 places. You just check and see. Because here all my courses in one row, all my IDs in one row. So I need to get only those 2 rows. But here your data is a 3 rows. Okay, your data is a 3 rows. So now you need to interact with all the rows. You need to connect to all the rows to fetch course ID and course name.
And Malaya, like the relation, like in a row level structure, right? We know like for particular ID, so the data pertaining to the particular student ID is Azure and something. But here, if we store in columnar, like for how can we correlate that ID for ID1, it is Azure and the date is 2001 based on the position or what?
Yes, based on a position. So based on position, it will consider, because it is going to store in the same order, right? 1, 2, 3, Azure Databricks ADF. So based on a position, it will come to know.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why, see, for writing the data, CSV is the better for writing the data. For reading the data, this Parquet is better. For reading the data, Parquet is better. Okay. But for writing, now the problem is, for writing you need to just put 1, 2, 3, and then you need to put Azure Databricks ADF. But here row by row, so you will not have much worry, right? So that position and all you no need to consider. Simply just put each row here. So that's why for writing the data, CSV is the best. For reading the data, Parquet is the best. Okay, clear? Pawan, Harish, clear?
Yeah.
Yes. Is the future of Parquet to get the schema? Yes, that is the future of the Parquet. So what Parquet will do? Parquet internally stores that particular schema. When you open the Parquet file, you will come to know. Okay.
So Malaya, usually in the columnar storage, the data will be stored in the vertical order based on the column. It's like a column family, right?
Yes.
Should be in the vertical order, right? But you are showing in horizontal order, right? That's what I'm confusing basically.
So I was telling the same. So if I store these in the three different rows, I will not be able to put them in this particular slide. That's why I just keep it here.
Got it. Right. Okay. Okay, I missed that point then. Okay, that's why I'm confusing.
Yeah, that's I told you, right, first one, right? So this is a row, this is another row, this is another row. Next to next, you can just keep one Azure here. Next to this row, you can keep it here. Next to, you can keep that row here.
No, not in the column family also, it's like a row only basically, but in the vertical,
Yes.
basically it will be divided based on the vertical.
Yes. Okay. The advantage of Apache Parquet. See, using Parquet format has the following advantages. First, reduce the storage. It consumes less space, because as we discussed, it has a compression technique which will compress the files. So ultimately you can able to see the less file size, right? So file size will reduce. So when the file size is reduced, the storage also, it will occupy the less storage. When it occupy the less storage, you are going to make the less payment to the Microsoft. Next, query performance reduces IO operations. Query performance, as we discussed, for reading, for querying any data, so it will be much more faster. But for writing the data, Parquet is not a good. But for reading the data, for applying some queries and all, so Parquet is the better, because it's a columnar storage. It fetches specific columns that you need to access. It will just fetch the specific columns that you need to access. So it is more like, it will give better performance when you just provide this specified columns which you need, instead of simply saying star. The star means anyhow it needs to get everything. But if you can say specified columns, I don't want all the columns, then Parquet you can use. Okay, for getting these specified columns that you need, you can go for the Apache Parquet. Next, automatically capture the schema of original data. As we discussed, it can capture the schema of original data. You no need to use infer schema equal to 2 and all those things. Automatically, it will get the schema of original data. Next, depending on your business use case, Apache Parquet is a good option if you have to provide partial search feature. So you understood partial search feature. What is searching? Searching means continuously you are just firing the query, just reading the data. You are not writing any data. Already data is available. Now continuously you are searching for something. We have a search feature, meaning you are reading the data. So if we have that kind of business use case, you can go for the Apache Parquet. Not querying all the columns that you are, okay, not that is not querying all the columns. So what you are doing, instead of taking all the columns, you are just specifying, okay, I need only these columns. Okay, you are not worried about file write time. So here, as I mentioned, this is not a good choice for writing the data. Okay, that's why you are not worried about file write time. So you are just not worrying about file write time. You are just worrying about you are going to do frequently read operation. Very rarely you are going to do the write operation. Then Parquet is the best because this is mainly good for reading the data, not for the writing. So you are not worried about file write time. Then you can go ahead and use the Apache Parquet. Okay. Next. So difference between CSV and Parquet, you can see your property CSV and Parquet, columnar. So CSV is no, it's a row oriented, and Parquet is a columnar. Okay, compressible. CSV is there is no compression in CSV, but Parquet we have a compression. Splittable, yes, both are splittable. What is meant by splittable? So Spark is a distributed computing framework. What is distributed computing framework? We will have a multiple missions, okay, which are going to work for the common goal. Example, we want to transform entire data. Okay, I have a like 1 GB of data. What I need to do out of that 1 GB of data, I just want to calculate my sales, my profits, all those things. So now what I need to do, instead of processing this entire data with the help of single mission, I'm going to use a Spark cluster where we are going to maintain the group of missions. All these group of missions are going to distribute this work and are going to process this data. So when you are distributing the work, let's say if you have single file, you need to distribute that work. What you need to do, you should be able to split that particular data. You should be able to split that particular file into multiple chunks, isn't it? Example, you have 4 node cluster. I have some 4 partitions. I need to split my file into 4 partitions. Then is it a splittable or not? Even if you have a CSV file format, even if you have a Parquet file format, both are splittable. Both are splittable. You can able to split both the files. Human readable CSV is yes, it's a human readable. When we open CSV, you have seen you can able to read the file. But Parquet, is it a human readable? No, you cannot able to read the data because it's a compressed. You cannot able to read that particular data. Next, default schema. See, it's a manual. The default schema, it's a manual. Here it's a automatic. Automatically you will get the schema of Parquet, but in CSV you need to say infer schema equal to true or user defined schema you need to provide. Okay, data size, as I mentioned, it's a 10 GB. Let's consider CSV, and in Parquet you will get it to some 3 GB or 2 GB. Okay, if you use a snappy compression technique. Next, use case. CSV is best for writing the data. Use case Parquet is best for reading the data. If we have some kind of a search functionality in your business use case, you can go and load the files as a Parquet. So Parquet will give better performance for reading the data.
So Malaya, I have a question. When we are writing the tables, right? When we write the data into tables, it is creating a Parquet file.
When we are
yes.
yes.
writing the data right into tables, it is creating a Parquet file. So
Yes.
this is contradict, right? The statement is like contradict, like it is use case is read, but
Yes.
it writes the data.
Okay. So why you are creating the table?
So we extract the data and load into the table. Later point, we are going to read the data.
So that is the question, right? So why you are writing data into the table? Maybe you want to apply multiple queries. You want to apply multiple queries. You want to submit on that particular table. So that's why it is considered, even though it is writing as a Parquet, even if it is taking more time for writing the data, but ultimately you can fire n number of queries on same data. It will give the better performance when you are querying the data. Okay.
Okay, but so it allows to write, right? It allows to write the data, but reading the data is quicker than writing the data.
Exactly. That is what is correct. Reading data is quicker than writing in Parquet, right? Clear, Kanka?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, friends?
Malaya, one more question. So we are able to do all the complex joins also with this on the Parquet file, right?
We are
The complex joins that we have to do, we can do it in Parquet.
yes. See, ultimately doesn't matter what type of file. Once you read data into data frame, on data frame you can apply all the joins. It's not specific to the file. Only file format means you are going to read all different types of files and create the data frame. So create data frame, you can apply all the functions, all the transformation that you can able to do on data frames, all those things you can able to do.
Right. One more question, Malaya. So when you say that for the write case we use CSV, then what does that mean that on a CSV file format you can write it faster than the Parquet?
Example, let's say your company is basically trying to put more data in some search engine. Okay, just you are adding a lot of data to search engine. So now your frequent operation is only writing, then you can write it as a CSV example. Okay, but now let's say, even though if it is taking more time for your business, so now your use case is you are a company like a Google. So Google is what Google is doing. Google is allow you to search for the different options, right? So if you need any help, you will search in Google. Now from where you will get this data? So Google search engine will go and fetch from the Google servers, right? So from the Google database, it will search the data, whatever data is relevant data you have, that entire data we will be able to see it in the browser. Now Google has a choice. So now they know that once they write the data, millions of people are going to search for the data. So how many times we are going to read this data? Millions of people are going to read same data, but Google is writing how many times? Only one time. So these kind of use case, they should not worry about writing the data. They just have to worry about reading the data. So now reading data must be faster, because 1 million people are going to read this particular data, but how many times you are writing the data? Only one time you are writing the data. Understood? So if you have a frequent operation is write, updating something, then you need to go for CSV. So once you write, you are providing some search engine kind of a thing. Many people are going to search for data. Then you need to write it as a Parquet, even though if it is taking more time. Reading is more faster.
Malaya, is it possible that we write it as CSV then and convert it into a Parquet?
No, so write it as a CSV and convert into Parquet means again you need to read that CSV and you need to write it as a Parquet only. That conversion is possible, but something will not happen simply if you say write it as a CSV internally convert into Parquet. No, you need to again read that CSV, write it as a Parquet. I understood your question. Okay, but that will not happen simply. Okay.
Okay.
Clear? Any other questions? Fine. No questions. Move on. Read Parquet file into data frame. So you already know, right? So this is the one of the syntax, park.read.parquet. So you can just, if you want to read a single file, you can specify single file. If you see, this is the another syntax. If you want to read a Parquet file, this is the another syntax. So this syntax we already aware, isn't it? So you are already aware of this particular syntax. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Just make sure. So you also know, if you want to read a multiple Parquet files, how you can able to read, isn't it? I think.
What is that splittable, Malaya? Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I discussed what is splittable.
Yeah, can you please, I missed it actually. Can you please explain me one more time? I did not understand.
You have, it's a distributed computing framework, right? So let's say you have 4 people, you need to distribute the task, but on entire data you have in a file. Now this file data, you should be able to split it into 4 different parts. So like this, you can able to split the data into multiple parts, even if your data is in a Parquet or CSV. That's why CSV is splittable and Parquet is also splittable. You can able to split the data, you can able to divide data into multiple parts, and you can submit one part on one compute node. Clear, Pawan?
So
Yeah,
Malaya,
but splitting the might be the splitting the data is in our control, but submitting that particular
No. Not in our control. Automatically Spark is going to split those things, and we don't know how many records we will have in each partition. So that is also controlled by Spark itself, but we can able to see in each partition what kind of data we have.
got it, Malaya.
so Malaya, yeah. So using data frame, right? Using data frame, I can using the Spark engine. Basically, I can create the Parquet files. Is there any other way we can create the Parquet files?
Is there any other way? So I don't know.
So in our
Basically,
project that I don't have like a Spark engine, right? So, but I want to use this Parquet format because it's more flexible, right?
but there is a tool. One tool is there where you can able to create the Parquet files, and you can able to read the Parquet files. Because as I mentioned, Parquet files are not human readable. But if you use that tool name I just share with you by evening, because I did not remember that tool name. We have used in my first project. Okay, so
Okay.
this tool you can use to create these Parquet files, sample Parquet files. And second thing is you can able to read these Parquet files also from that particular tool. Next thing, if you want Parquet files for your practice, what you can do, you can just you can download these particular Parquet files from the GitHub. So many things are there, many Parquet files you have. I think from Google, like sorry, from the different online websites we can use to convert CSV into Parquet. Okay, that is also possible.
Okay.
Fine. So this, you know, single file, this is one of the syntax, this is the another syntax. This is basically we will use to read the multiple Parquet files. And writing data frame. So if you want to, so df, you have df.write.mode is append. So if you look at the previous code and this code, I'm not saying here option header equal to true, option info schema equal to true. So when I read this particular Parquet files, I will show you automatically schema will come. You don't need to specify any option explicitly. And when I'm writing also, I'm not saying option header equal to true, all those things automatically. So that particular schema it will write, along with that it will write the headers. Okay, just you need to say this is the df.write.mode is append or overwrite, and where you need to write. This is one of the syntax, and the syntax is this. Okay, here save here Parquet format. So this is append, this is overwrite. You can use anything. Here also you can use overwrite, here also you can use append. Okay, don't confuse. This is basically two different syntaxes. Here you can put overwrite or append, here you can put append or okay. Fine. That's all slides I have. Let me quickly discuss. First, let me show you the Parquet file, how it will look like. Okay, so that many questions will be answered. Cloud connect data source. Go to Parquet. Let me just open one of the Parquet file. See, it will be something like this. It will be something like this. You'll not be able to understand it. You see, so we will not be able to understand anything from this particular file.
Malaya, is it also possible that we can read data into RDD using that
No,
sc.txt file?
Submitted for Parquet. Okay, Parquet files you cannot read in RDD. That's why I have clearly mentioned Spark SQL support the Parquet files for reading and writing. That's what I mentioned in one of our slides. Okay.
So Malaya, sorry, I have one question. When we are writing the data, right, I have seen an option like Parquet. I think this is the first time we have seen this sample, but prior examples we haven't put anything like .csv or something like that, right?
No, I mentioned, but I have not used. Maybe you can use any of that syntax. I was telling you from the beginning. There are two syntaxes. .csv also available. Okay, so yeah, if we have some time, so I'll just show you that as well if you want to understand. That's fine. Let me quickly. So let's go with. Okay, so I have a Azure subscription. Until Azure subscription is over, let's go and discuss with Azure Databricks. Later we will do all the things in the Databricks community. Okay, so let's click on storage account. Okay, not storage account. Let's create the Azure Databricks first because it will take more time. Click add to create the Azure Databricks. So I don't have any resource group. Let's create a resource group. Click to press create. Create it. So let's try to connect to the Data Lake Storage Gen2, isn't it? Let's try to connect to the Data Lake Storage Gen2. How I'm going to connect? I will just use the direct connection today. Okay. So okay, let's try to. Let me create the Data Lake Storage Gen2. So I have shown you how you can create a mount point for a blob, Data Lake Storage Gen2, Gen1. We have seen how you can create mount point for a blob using SAS. Then we talked about how you can connect to the blob by using access key directly. Today I will show you how you can connect to the Data Lake Storage Gen2 directly. Click add to create the Data Lake Storage Gen2. So resource group is this. Storage account is Load Pandit ADL V2. Azure Data Lake ADLS V2 say. Yes. Azure Data Lake Storage V2. So if it is a V2, what else you need to do? In advanced tab, you need to enable the hierarchical names. So this is the only difference. Otherwise, it will consider as a blob. If you enable this, it will go as a Data Lake Storage Gen2. Okay. Running final validation, create it. Meanwhile, let's go here and say Data Lake Gen2 in database. Okay, go to this documentation. In this documentation, we will have a direct connection how we can establish. See, this mount point we already discussed, isn't it? This mount point we already discussed. So here let's try these things in Python because we don't have Python code, right? But we have a Scala code. I'll just take same Scala code and try to do it in a Python. We'll see will it work or not. We'll note it should work in Python also, but we'll see. Okay. Come here, Databricks is ready. Go to resource. Click on launch workspace. Okay, click on cluster first. Click. It will be create cluster. Come to workspace. Let's create here. I forgot to share these notebooks yesterday. Cloud Pandit. What is this today? Parquet. Read Parquet files. Okay, create it. This is in Python. Okay. So what code you need to get it right? So you may confuse. Let's try this. Okay. Mostly it will work. If it is not working, then I'll just check what we need is. Okay. Take same Scala code. Come here. Put same Scala code here. Instead of reading this from keyword, I'll just directly hard for this. Okay, fine. So now go to storage account, click go to resource, go to access keys. This is a Data Lake Storage Gen2. Okay, copy this, put that particular key here. Now you see fs.azure.account.key storage account.dfs.port.windows.net. So storage account name we need to put here. Put storage account name here. Okay, I'll just use the storage account name here. Storage account name is this one. Just take this, keep that storage name here. Okay. So this is the code. This is the code that we need to execute. Next, come here. So here I will try to read the data, but to read the data we need to have a folder. Right? Go to overview. Click on containers. Cloud Pandit. Create a Cloud Pandit. You go inside this. Let's create one more subdirectory. Parquet data. Let's save it. Go inside this. Let me upload the Parquet files. Let's upload those 3 files. Okay, so these are uploading. Fine. Now go to documentation once again. I'll tell you the URL. The URL is how we have created was BS, right? So in same syntax here you need to say ABFSS. Okay, ABFSS. Here container name @storage name dot. If it is a blob.code.windows.net. Okay, if it is a Data Lake Storage Gen2, you need to say dfs.core.windows.net. Okay, this is basically a core path. Okay. So in this you need to replace few things. Let's quickly replace those things. Storage name. This is my storage name. Take this storage name and give that storage name here.
So Malaya, what's the difference between WAFs versus ABFSS?
What?
What's the difference between WABS versus ABFSS?
Well, this is an abbreviation. Okay, let me tell you. WABS full form. So just it will tell you, see, Windows Azure Storage Blob. Okay, W means Windows, A means Azure, S means storage, B means blob. Okay, was BS, S means secure. Okay, that is secure. Was BS means BS. Okay, In the same way, ABFS is full form, not this one. See, Data Lake Storage Gen2 allows users of Azure Blob Storage access to a new driver, the Azure Blob File System driver. See, Azure Blob File System, ABFS means Azure Blob File System. Okay, that is the meaning, Azure Blob File System. Okay, it's not a blob. Okay, this is just a syntax. Okay, so it's an hierarchical namespace. We already have seen. Okay, that is just an extension. Okay, fine. Now here I place the storage name. Here I am going to place my container. Go to storage. What is my container name? Cloud Pandit. You see Cloud Pandit. Okay, that particular name I will replace here. Okay. Next subdirectory I have, right? Subdirectory is under Cloud Pandit. You see under Cloud Pandit folder. Let's go back again to show you clearly. So this is the main folder. Inside main folder we have a Parquet data folder. Okay, let me just write this Parquet data folder. How to put the other folders here at the end? You keep adding if you have still other subfolders. Okay. This is my source path. So in this path, what files I have? Spark.read.parquet. Directly, if you want to read with a simple syntax, you can say spark.read.parquet, and you can provide the source path. This will give the df_parquet, df_parquet dot show. Okay, so all these things are ready for us. Let's attach notebook to the cluster. This cluster is, yes, cluster is also available. Let's quickly exit. Yeah, first I will try to read the data. Let's see what will happen. See, failure to initialize configuration. Okay, now try to set this configuration. Now try to read this data. You are able to read the data or not? Yes, you are able to read the data. You understood? So I'm able to read the data. Now this data is not like properly readable. The reason is if you show, if you have more number of columns, those columns it will show here. It's not a readable. To read it properly, what you can do, you can use something to display experience. Okay, see now RDD registration underscore DTM. You will have a drop down. You just see all the columns which you have. So how many files I have uploaded? 3 files. So some files are having 990 files, 999 files. Some files are having 1000. I want to get the count of total files. So df dot count. Just read this data. See 3000. Okay, each file is having 1000 records. Each file is having 1000 records. That's why I have total 3000 records. You see. Understood how I'm reading? This is one of the syntax as I mentioned, right? So yeah, now let's say I want to read my entire data in another syntax, that is format of Parquet. I want to load from this particular.
But Malaya, one question here. One file can have only 800 records like that, right? Can it display by file?
Same thing we discussed earlier sessions, right? So if you want to understand how many records we have in each file, get the file list, read one by one file individually. Okay, otherwise, if you want to get each file count when you are reading entire folder, that is not possible. You need to read file by file to get the count in each file.
Okay, got it.
It's the same syntax I have used, but this is giving 3000. Okay, let's say you want to get a particular folder I want to read instead of reading entire folder. What you can do? You just give this particular file name at the end. Let's here I'll just give. Let's say execute this. Regular 1000. Okay, let's say I have next file. Cloud from the 2.parquet 1000. Cloud from 3.parquet 1000. I have everything is 1000. Okay, you can read a single file. Okay, you can also read a entire folder by using this syntax. Okay, now what is the advantage of all these things? We discussed something automatically info the schema. Check it here. See, timestamp, integer, string, double. Okay, next. You just check the data types anywhere. See, data types, it is inferring the automatically. I am not telling there is a something you need to info the schema and all those things. And I'm not saying header equal to true, all those options. Automatically, it is getting those details for us.
So Malaya, it reads the complete data set to get the data types, or just the sample of some data, sample data?
No, it is
Get
going
the
to
data.
basically, remember, it is not going to scan data itself. The reason is we are not able to see, but internally it will just, when you are creating the Parquet files, when it is creating the Parquet file itself, it will store the column name. What is the data type of this? What is the column name? What is the data type of this? What is the column name? What is the data type of this? So this information it will store. So when you are reading, it will read this and it will display. Understood? It is not scanning data to identify these data types. So when you are creating Parquet files, it will store all this information along with the data. It will store this schema. Okay, clear? Who asked this? Clear?
Okay, Malaya.
In some other file formats, you can able to see at least the schema, till schema you can able to see, I think in ORC. So in one of these file formats, see, so for Avro, you can able to see the schema, till schema you can able to read. But for ORC and Parquet, you will not be able to read even schema. So like this, it will store the schema. See the type, record, right? So the name is something this and the document. This is all not a schema. So from here, fields started. So fields are name, column name is registration underscore DTTM, type is string. Okay, document type is type inferred from this particular data. Name, ID, type is long. Okay, so this particular data type it inferred from 1, value 1. Next, name, first name, type is string. So likewise, Parquet also will store this schema along with your data. Okay. So now we have seen how you can read the Parquet. Let me show you. So this is the syntax, friends. This you don't have in documentation, but same Scala code will work in Python. The same Scala code I have used in Python, it is working. Okay. So if you remember, we have not find anything called any syntax for Python, right? But same Scala code will work in Python. Same Scala code will work in Python. Okay. Right.
So Malaya, if I want to change the schema, can I change it here?
Yes, you can able to change it. You can able to cache those things.
Okay.
What is the other day we tried with like a date format, right? What is the date format in Spark, and we were having some trouble, right? So this is the timestamp. Can we see some date options?
Data we have, yeah. So let me display the data. Display will not give you properly. See your same YYY-DD-MM. So hours, months, and seconds. Same format I have given, right?
No, this is timestamp. I'm just saying it took the data type as timestamp. So I'm saying like for date, what is the default value or format that takes in Spark?
Default
Format in for date. How it
format
looks like.
YYY-MM-DD-HH-MM-SS. This is the
No,
format.
No, I understand. What I'm saying is this is a timestamp data type. If you see in the schema, it
Okay,
is
you
saying
want a
a
date?
timestamp. Yes.
Okay, timestamp. See, date means only date you will get instead
This
of.
is the default one, right?
This is a timestamp. Here you have a date and time. That's why it is considered as a timestamp. If you want to
Okay.
convert the date, you need to have a YYYMMDD. That's only till date you need to have.
Okay. No, what I'm saying is like, can you put in one file and put in one column and just try to fetch the data? If it works, let's see.
Yes, we. You want me to put this and try?
Yeah, just only the date part. No, just put the date part. Don't take the time.
This is. So you want to read it in CSV, right?
Either way, CSV, Parquet, whatever your choice.
Not convert. See, if you want to understand the date, right? So why you are doing this much thing, you no need to do. Simple thing I will tell you. Let's say here from here. From PySpark.equal.functions import current underscore date. Okay, so I'm just generating the current underscore date. It will give you the date data type. Okay, so from here you can understand what is the date, like syntax or format of the date.
Okay.
With the column, basically we will use to add the new column. Okay, let's say something I'm just saying load date. Load, I'm just saying current underscore date. Okay, this will be a something df1. It's a df1 dot display of df1.
The data, whatever we are showing, like that depends on the data what you type you uploaded, right? So the format you are seeing, because that is what you have uploaded in the file, right, Malaya?
Yes. See, this is the date. Okay, this is the date format first. Okay, the data type is date. Now let's go one by one. The format is this.
Okay.
Yeah, Pawan, you were saying something. Tell me now.
No, nothing, Malaya. I mean, like the format what we are seeing based depends on the data we uploaded, right? How we uploaded the format,
Correct.
how.
Correct. See, same date here, same date we have in another format. So it will be considered as a string. If you have in another format, this birthday you see here, it is considered as a string. If the date is in this particular format, then it will consider as a date. If you have same format, date and the time, then it will consider as a timestamp. If a date in any other format, it will be considered as a string. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Now let me just show you how you can write this data. You already know.
If you want to read and if you want to read the data and load it in different date formats, I mean, what kind of different formats of date we have? I mean, like the one which you showed now, right? It is
See,
giving us
for
date.
formats, it will not support. Only format it will support is this YYYMMDD. Okay, if you want in a proper data type, so you can convert into any format. You can say year, month, day, or day, month, year, or month, day, year. You can use any format if you are going to convert this into a string. So when you are keeping it as a string, you can convert into any format. Those transformation we will see. So when we go for the transformation, just in these sessions, we are just trying to understand how to read and write. Okay. So df1 dot write that more. So now we want to write the Parquet data. Okay, I want to write the Parquet data, but in this is the source path. Let me take. Cloud Pandit the same. So Parquet data 1. I'm just saying Parquet data 1 folder I want to create. So dist path 1. This is the one way. Just write it. But anyhow, you cannot able to what you cannot able to read the data by going there. But the only thing that you can do is refresh this to not here. Refresh this, see Parquet data 1 folder again. Okay. Let's say I'll write this data in a different syntax.
So if we don't specify the Parquet, even though by default it will
Yes, we have
load
seen
in
that.
the form, right?
Yes.
By default.
So in this syntax we can do that. Okay, load desktop path. I am not saying format of Parquet, right? So consider it is considering as a Parquet. This we have seen. Oh shit, save we need to use. Save. Okay. So I'm not specifying any Parquet, right? Format is Parquet. By default, it is considering as a Parquet. Okay, let's go to the data. Let's expand this and see. By default, it will consider as a Parquet. Yes, this is what we have seen in our earlier session. Okay. Difference clear? Any doubts? Okay, tomorrow we will see how you can write this Parquet data in a partitions, how to read partitions, all those things. Okay, that is very important. So in real time, we will use we will write it as a partitions to get the better performance. We will discuss.
Can we write into CSV?
Yes, you can write it into CSV.
Hi Malaya. Malaya, can you share this notebook? Actually, yesterday also you said whenever you have time.
Sure. See, I'm just saying CSV, and I will say this is a CSV data. Let's write it. You now come here, go back, click on CSV data. There is a file. Click on this. Click edit. So click preview. So you can able to see here.
Okay.
But the problem, what you observed here, I have not written right as a header, right? That's why see headers went as a actual data. Understood? So when you're writing as a CSV, you know you need to use a option attribute true. So those and all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Malay, can you please send this CSV file also for practice purpose?
Yeah, sure.
And Malay,
Yeah,
when you
Malay,
write into
just one.
CSV, I see a lot of percentiles in the data.
What percentile?
When you can you go back to that CSV data?
Special character. So there is some space, right? To avoid that space.
No, I didn't get that one. What does it mean?
See, when you just see like this, you don't have any issue.
Got
There
it,
are
got
some
it.
and all those things. That's why it is shown.
Malay, I have one piece of code. Would you be able to check for me? I'm getting one.
Share in WhatsApp. Share in WhatsApp when I have time.
Until unless I will be able to show you, I don't think I'll be able to make you understand what problem I'm facing.
Okay, so maybe we will try. So join tomorrow early, little bit, maybe 6 o'clock or something. So I will try to help you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.